Does the EFF understand the sunset clause and its implications? Is the EFF living in a political dreamland? Since when is Julius Malema against the BEE when he actually benefited from it? Is EFF secretly having meetings with NUMSA and Zwelinzima Vavi? What time is it? It's question time. My name is Mpho Tsedu and you're now watching Question Time. My guest today is the Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema. Julius, welcome to the show. It's quite a pleasure having you today.
Thank you.
Tell me, does the EFF understand the sunset clause and what its implications are?
We do, and we appreciate that it can't be the sunset permanently. There has to be a sunrise at some point, and this is the time for the sunrise.
Now, one looks at your manifesto, and everything that you stand for actually says, you know what, we need to do away with the sunset clause.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The sunset clauses were meant for transition, and we think we've gone past that stage, and everybody else has got now a surety that we're not creating an anarchist state, we're not creating a murderous state which seeks to pay revenge. We're now a stable country politically, and therefore we need to do away with the compromises and go back to the fundamentals of what really constituted the struggle. Now, for you to ensure that this manifesto of yours, and it's quite radical, one must say, for you, for it to be realized, you're going to need quite a lot of votes in Parliament to ensure that the likes of that sunset clause that we've referred to here are going to be repealed. I don't think we need the two-thirds to make certain decisions. Just an outright majority and political will and commitment will do. For instance, the expropriation of land for public purpose and interest. It looks like the Constitutional Court will not have any problem with such things. Let them be put to test, and let's see what the Constitutional Court says. The lack of courage in the previous years is the one that has led to the delay of actually transferring the land ownership back into the hands of the people.
Lack of courage on whose part? On
the part of the ruling party.
The ruling party which you belong to and were very vocal of.
Very, very vocal of, and very vocal of the same issues. I don't raise them now because I'm outside the ruling party. Actually, I was expelled for these issues. I spoke of expropriation of land without compensation, nationalization of mines and the banks, and ultimately the ANC took a decision that the willing buyer, willing seller is not working. Out of our own agitation, the NGC in Durban resolved on the nationalization of mines and tasked them to go and investigate the best model.
Yes.
We agitated for this. So it can be that the impression is created that we're only raising them now.
Yeah, but I mean, at the NGC in Durban, indeed, your forces, if I may call them, swamped the commission which was dealing with that particular subject, and you lost that debate. I mean, after it was agreed that indeed the likes of Jeff Radebe and the others are going to lead that particular exploration to see if what the Youth League was suggesting is going to be feasible.
No, we didn't lose the debate. Remember, the Commission of Economic Transformation, for the first time in the history of the ANC, got more than 40% of those who are attending the NGC attending that commission. Because we had made the struggle for economic freedom fashionable and for people to begin to appreciate that indeed now is the time for economic freedom. And then from there we went to the plenary. A committee was constituted to investigate the best model.
Yeah.
That committee changed the terms of reference. The Youth League was supposed to sit in that committee. It was completely excluded. And then ultimately, we were expelled. And that agenda was buried successfully in Mangaung, in our absence. Because in our presence, they knew they will never succeed burying a genuine struggle of our time. Because the time for economic freedom is now and can never be postponed.
You are aware that you're regarded as the political, I mean, others have called you political problem child, you know, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
What informs that? Do you think people just hate you?
No. That's what they do. I mean, history repeats itself. That's what they said about Madiba. They said he was an adventurist. He was dreaming. He was young. He didn't know what he was talking about. Madiba was a subject of permanent criticism in the National Executive Committee of the ANC, and all that. And all the negative names Madiba was called overnight turned into all the beautiful names. Any beautiful name was given to Madiba. Madiba was given everything that is beautiful. We're just running short of calling him Jesus Christ. I think others did. After being called all the bad names, the terrorist, the prisoner, the disruptive, problematic child, the disruptor of Communist Party meetings. So that's how revolution is. First, if people are not used to a new idea, they ridicule it. They call it all sorts of names. It depends on those who are advancing that idea, whether they will stand firm, whether they will be resilient, they will show commitment to the cause, despite everything else that can happen to those people.
The reason why I'm saying all these things is because it has been said that basically what the EFF is suggesting is it's only Julius who can say this, you know. Nobody else can because it's not real. You cannot achieve all these things that, you know, the EFF has come out with.
No, then the name of the Freedom Charter is Julius Malema then. Because that's what the Freedom Charter is saying. I'm not saying anything new. That's what Nelson Mandela said before prison and after prison. That's what O.R. Tambo said. It is contained in the Freedom Charter that the land shall be shared amongst those who work it. It is contained in the Freedom Charter that the wealth shall be transferred into the hands of the people. Education shall be free and of quality. Look at the manifesto of the EFF and go and look at the Freedom Charter. We are asking for the implementation of all the clauses of the Freedom Charter. As long as the clauses of the Freedom Charter are not implemented, we don't have a true freedom. Remember, the Freedom Charter is not a document of the ANC, it's the people's document. The ANC had to take a year to adopt it as its own document. So the people in 1955 articulated very clear what they want when they attain freedom. And we are advancing exactly that. So those who say it's only Julius who can say that, they are naive and they are politically illiterate. They do not know the struggle of South Africa.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we return, I want us to take a few moments to deal with some of the pertinent issues that have actually created a lot of hoo-ha, as they would call it, out of the manifesto. For now, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, continue our discussion with Julius Malema.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Liftoff, the first South African in space. The World Cup goes to South Africa.
The new Lufthansa, designed to celebrate 20 years of freedom and the next generation of dreamers.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is Julius Malema, EFF leader. Now, Julius, the black economic empowerment and affirmative action, you have attacked that very much, yet Some of the assets that were sold that belonged to you were amassed as a result of policies that favored the empowerment of black people.
It's not true. I'm not a beneficiary of BEE. Let me tell you one, the Polokwane house I had, when I became the Youth League Secretary, I went to take a bond in Nedbank and then went to buy a stand at Sterk Park for 200,000. And then in the next 2 years, I sold that stand for 640,000. And then I took 400,000, went to deposit a house in Flora Park and got a bond on that house from Nedbank. And later was transferred into a bond at APSA. There's no BEE there. The house in Santen, which they took, was the house that was bought by comrades for me when I became the president of the ANC Youth League. Yeah, something that is not new. All leaders were bought houses by their fellow comrades and business people. Madiba is a beneficiary of that. Peter Mugaba is a beneficiary of that. Castle and all leaders of the ANC, ministers who used to come to my house, they said, we must buy the president of the Youth League a house. Secondly, when we bought that house, they were not happy with it, that we are ministers and premiers here. We can't be meeting each other on corridors. That's what led to the demolishing of that house, so we can build a proper house with in suits, because they said they don't want to see each other on the road. I said even before my expulsion from the ANC, that if I die, this house must be donated to the ANC before Mandela's will, because I knew that was not my house. It was a house built by comrades because it was their base.
Okay, now Julius, are you sure that those assets were not bought, well, through comrades, by resources that were, amassed through black economic empowerment?
They were politicians. I don't know if they are BEE. That house was BEE, Saguma Kozoma, Cyril Ramaphosa, Patrice Motsepe. They are very
few. B is also a BEE.
It's not a BEE. If that is a BEE, then it's a weak BEE. It's still emerging.
Ali is a BEE.
Hashem, Bishelo is even worse. I mean, there's nothing BEE about Ali. But those are not the people who bought that house. Those were my friends. The leadership of the ANC, particularly from Limpopo, converted my house into their base when they were visiting Johannesburg. I said, this house, if anything happens to me, it must be donated to the ANC. It must be used as a guest house, particularly for ANC comrades who come from Polokwane.
Okay. Now, why are you so much against BEE?
It's an empowerment of individuals. We need an empowerment of society.
But that's not what the document says. It's not how it is supposed to be rolled out in its current form, right?
We don't, no, it's like that. BEE is an empowerment of individuals. There's no BEE that says...
Triple B.
No, those are just semantics, man. It's individuals. There's no requirement by BEE which says you must empower the community. In the proposal of nationalization in our manifesto, we articulate very clear that a certain percentage will be given to the community. A certain percentage will be given to the workers. The workers themselves must know that when they go on strike, they will affect their profit sharing. And by that, they will avoid unnecessary strikes. By that, they will double production because they know at the end of financial year, for the first time in their lives, perhaps each one of them can go home with extra 30,000. The communities themselves, we can build the basic needs of that community, and once we have resolved the issue of service delivery in those communities, led by the minds in those communities, there can be a day where communities queue to receive 2,000 each once the basics are addressed. So we have practicalized it. We are showing how people stand to benefit, not the so-called broad black BEE empowerment, which continues to empower Cyril Ramaphosa, Baleka Mbete, politically connected individuals who bring burial societies which are non-existent, who bring youth organizations that are non-existent, and create an impression this is broad-based.
Who do you think is funding your campaign? I mean, if you go to Boxback and you find people donating the amounts that they have donated, don't you think those are BEE beneficiaries?
They're weak. BEE, which you 2,000 rand buying a chair. That's how they donated. They were buying a chair for 2,000 rand. No one has gone beyond 50,000. No one. If BEE, then the beret is BEE. Because if we are being funded by BEE, then this beret is a BEE. Because we are funded by this beret. We're selling the beret, we're selling the merchandise of the EFF, and that's how we've sustained the EFF.
Now, you came up with a structure of payments, and you're the only party, by the way, that has come up with these figures. I don't know why, or was it to dangle a carrot to the potential voters? Mine workers, 12,500 per month. Farm workers, 5,000 rand. Manufacturing workers, 6,500.
Sure.
Waiters and waitresses, 4,500. Private security guards, 7,500. How do you arrive at such figures? Don't you think you're raising the expectations of people who, if you do not win this coming elections, then Julius Malema's head will be on the block?
No, not at all. These are the demands of the unions. All those 12,500 is AMCU, and the farm workers, that's what they demanded. You remember the strike in the Western Cape. So basically that comes from the unions. Unions have done the research. Unions know that it is practically possible for these demands to be met. These are not thumb-sucked, and this does not dangling a carrot. We are agreeing with the workers. Workers themselves are saying, this is what we want. We're talking about a minimum wage of 4,500. The reality is that 50% of working South Africans, 50% earn 2,800. Most of them come from squatter camps and townships. That money is only spent on transport, and they are left with nothing. Why are they going to work? They are going to work hoping the waiters and waitresses, they will be given a tip that day. The petrol attendants, they hope they will be given a tip after helping you with the petrol. The domestic workers go to work, not because 2,800 is helping them. They go to work because they are looking for the leftovers that the madam can give them at the end of that day. So we're seeking to address those imbalances, because these are the same patterns of apartheid, and they are continuing today.
Have you said anything about the credit bureau?
Yeah. We believe that particularly the graduates who are at the credit bureau as a result of owing the fees at the universities, we need to clear them. It is not of their own making. We should actually celebrate them, that they've graduated, they've grabbed an opportunity, and therefore we can't punish them for having passed. We should thank them by scraping their names off the credit bureau.
We're going to continue with our discussion only after the break. This is question time. Please don't go away. We'll return shortly.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi.
Currently, we've got 3 apps that we've developed: the Q Marshall app, a commuter app, and a taxi association app.
The Chinese e-commerce company Alibaba Group Holding has decided to pursue an IPO in New York. Safaricom wants to introduce M-Pesa to Kenya's popular matatu industry. This will enable commuters to pay taxi fares using mobile money.
That's Network, Sundays, 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. This is Question Time. You're watching. My guest today is Julius Malema, EFF leader. Now, Julius, like I said, you've pronounced on a couple of things.
Sure.
But one of them is, you were saying, and I don't know if it's in the policy document itself or it was just something you ad-libbed, that EFF members of parliament are not going to even take medical aid.
Yes.
But that would be policy of, government or officials who work in parliament.
Yeah, it's fine. Let it be. We can't comply with unjust laws because they are laws. We must defy them. But
Julius, you surprised me. The last time when you were supposed to appear before the disciplinary of the ANC, you went to a Polokwane private hospital. But today, you are EFF with the beret, no private hospitalization.
Yes, there was no EFF policy then. There is an EFF policy which I have accepted and joined. In the ANC, everything else was private. And we're not going to public facilities. I mean, this must be a celebrated policy. Even if we went to private clinics in the past, if we have discovered ourselves and said the only way these hospitals can be made effectively is when politicians use them, and if they are not of quality, we demand quality, and will not only benefit, but society will benefit. Motsoaledi has already practiced that by going to Steve Biko Hospital. We should, all of us, practice it. I don't think there is any problem with using public hospitals and public schools.
Transformation of the criminal justice system.
Sure.
What exactly do you want out of that? There's a huge backlog with our court system.
We need to train our police because in most cases our police go to court and then they are not able to present winnable evidence. Yeah. We also need to ensure that we introduce very serious minimum sentences, especially on issues of corruption. On issues of rape, we shouldn't even negotiate. Once evidence is established beyond any reasonable doubt, such people should go to prison without any parole. And we must be very strict on that. Crime is a big problem. The investors that I meet all over in South Africa, they are saying to us, Mr. Malema, we are readily available, especially the Chinese communities and the Indian communities.
And you took them to Alexandra.
They're saying, we are here. We want to invest. We have no problem. But the problem is the crime. And what is even more painful is that the police are practicing, some of the criminal activities. You get stopped, money is demanded from you by police. And even police, when they knock your house, they knock at your house, in full uniform, you're thinking these are law enforcement officers, I must open, and we get subjected to all forms of harassment. We need to deal with that, reduce crime, and transform the judiciary. The poor must have access to justice, and even to the constitutional court. You don't have to have money to access any court of South Africa.
We're running out of time, but let's talk about the list. You released your list yesterday. It's quite an interesting list.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these people are former Youth League members. It would appear that you went into the ANC and, identified potential candidates.
The problem is that the ANC is a dominant party. And all majority of politically active people are in the ANC. And that's a very unfortunate thing. We didn't go on a journey to go look for people in the ANC.
You've been accused, actually, of bringing in your buddies. In Limpopo, people in Rampahlele, whom I spoke to, were saying, no, these are people from Shero. Julius has ensured that he's only bringing his buddies from around Polokwane.
Sure. I mean, let's go through the list of Limpopo. Mike Matewe is from Skukuni. Josie is from Seshego. The third person, Miss Lidwawa, is from Makwilering, Waterberg. The fourth person, George Rapela, is from Mankweng and all that. So let me be shown who comes from Seshego. I don't think those are the people who know the list and they don't know our leaders. Our leaders, The EFF has got gender equality in the list. The EFF has got geographic spread. The EFF has got generational mix.
Okay.
So fair representation of any type of community you may want to think of.
And then you said you wanted to bring the left into the fold. You want the left to operate together. And I see here you went to SOPA, to BCP, South Africa First. Those are organizations, yes, who are in the left, but they are virtually, you know, they don't have the numbers. What are they bringing there?
They are bringing a very clear ideological perspective. It's not always numbers. It's always about a commitment to get few people committed to the cause of changing the patterns of property ownership in South Africa. It must be celebrated. There are very few who are that courageous. And we think that consolidating the left forces will help us to advance the working class agenda.
Now, you've got Libon Mabasa at number 36. Do you think you'll get him in? 36 is a bit far.
No, not at all. I mean, how many members does the DA have? It has got 60 plus. And we are going to be a government after the election, so we'll have to get more than 60. Okay. So I think that anybody else who is in the top 60 is more than safe, because the first one to be beaten is that DA, who must sort it out and then go to the big brother.
Okay. Now, are you talking to NUMSA?
No, not at all.
But you have written a letter.
Yeah, we did, and then NUMSA didn't respond to us. So we've never had any formal discussions with NUMSA. Today we are going to meet NACTU. Yeah. We have a formal meeting with them almost the whole day today. So, yeah, those are the type of organizations we're meeting. If we're meeting with NUMSA, we'll not make it secret, we would have announced it. It's like people saying we're meeting with Vavi. We don't have such a discussion with Vavi. The last time I met Vavi was in a protest march of COSATU, which I attended, and Sidumo attacked him for allowing me to attend a march which I thought all South Africans were called upon to attend. So,
do you think, given the rate at which things are going, you're going to Parliament, and who are you likely to partner with to ensure that the ANC is not in power?
We partner with anybody else who agree with our 7 non-negotiable.
There's nobody who agree with you, by the way, who is in Parliament.
Let me tell you, when the numbers speak, they will all be queuing. The numbers speak volume. First principle, expropriation of the stolen land without compensation. If you meet that requirement, then the room for discussion can start.
Do you think the DA will?
I don't know. I can't speak for the DA. It's a very useless organization.
Do you think the ANC would?
President Zuma doesn't have courage to take the land.
Julius Malema.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. We welcome your feedback. Our email address is questiontime@sabc.co.za and our Twitter handle @questiontime24. From me and the crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.